started practicing yoga with my daughter and teaching kids. Kids generally have a very short attention span and focus. If you ask them to hold on a particular pose, it's a very big challenge for them because they have a very short attention span. So, for example, if the tree pose, right? So, the parent and the child will have to hold each other's hand and they have to find a solution to achieve that asana without falling. They have to find a balance.
Vanakkam, Namaste, and hello, everyone. Welcome to the 71st episode of Inside the Minds of Great Yogis. In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Bina. As a mother of a 9-year-old daughter and someone who's always loved fitness, Bina believes that well-being is a personal journey. Yoga became her way of finding balance physically, mentally, and emotionally. This passion led her to complete 400 hours of yoga teacher training in both Hatha and Ashtanga School of Yoga at the Sivananda International Institute of Yoga. She has also had the joy of leading mom and child workshops where parents and children can bond and have fun together. These sessions aren't just about movement. They create special moments that improve both physical health and emotional connection. It is a pleasure to welcome Bina on the Inside the Minds of Great Yogis podcast. So let's give a big round of applause to Bina.
Thank you, Sabri.
Hi, Bina. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me in your podcast.
Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm very excited to hear about your perspectives of yoga. So on that note, we'll get started. And the first question that I have for you today is, how did your journey of yoga begin?
So, I used to practice yoga over 10 years as a student, and being a fitness enthusiast, I've tried different forms of workout like badminton, swimming, dance, MMA. I used to go to the gym. And From my career perspective, I hold a master's degree in human resource, and I come from a business background. My family comes from a business background, and I used to help my husband in business. And then after I got pregnant, and when my daughter was 3 years old, is when I realized I wanted to do something that would make me happy besides being a mom. And as I mentioned earlier, being a fitness enthusiast, I started having more, I was leaning more towards yoga. I had more inclination towards yoga. And I started doing more research and studies. And I felt that yoga has a very holistic approach. And that's when I started doing my teacher training course with Hatha and Ashtanga School of Yoga.
Thank you for sharing that and a little bit about how you got introduced to the practice of yoga. So now I would like to come into the next question that I have for you. So I was wondering, how does teaching children yoga differ from teaching adults? And what are some key lessons that you've learned from working with kids?
Okay, so again, I started practicing yoga with my daughter and teaching kids. Kids generally have a very short attention span and focus. If you ask them to hold on a particular pose, it's a very big challenge for them because they have a very short attention span. So what I do is when I started putting them in pairs, is when I felt they were more engaged and they were having more fun, and that's how I was able to catch their attention. So this way they were able to focus. And the key lesson I would say while teaching kids is you have to make their classes very interactive and fun. That's the only way to get to them.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I think children, especially kids, are more like sponges, right? Like when you share some sort of information with them, they have this capacity to soak that quickly. So I think yoga is a very important practice, especially for kids. And I
Yes.
think you're doing a good work there. So thank you for sharing a little bit about that there. And the next question that I have for you is, how has your holistic sort of approach to fitness impacted the people you teach, both physically and mentally?
So, most women who come to my classes, they always complain of back pain knee issues or irregular periods, not able to sleep in the nights properly, anxiety. So I kind of emphasize certain asanas that could help them address those issues. And I also teach breathing exercises that they could practice back home by themselves, on a daily routine, so that that could help in anxiety and other. And also, I give them tips on how they can use certain asanas on their day-to-day activities. For example, if there are a bunch of toys lying in the floor,
Yeah.
I would say that you could sit in the malasana, the garland pose, and pick up the toys,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, so that way it helps. Malasana is an excellent pose for hip opening and to regularize your periods. So that way I give different tips on asanas that they could incorporate on their day-to-day activities. Another example would be like while you're watching TV, you could just sit in, a butterfly on the floor and watch TV. That way, it also helps to enhance the mobility and the overall well-being. So yeah, that's how I help them.
With the practices. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that there. And I think it's really lovely that you kind of incorporate it into their day-to-day activities as well, and their daily activities, such as you mentioned, butterfly pose, especially when they're watching TV, as well as the malasana. And I think that's a really great tip, especially for anyone that's watching, who have kids as well, something they can sort of incorporate.
Yes.
So
No,
thank
not just that. I generally try and tell them different poses, like different asanas that they could use in their daily activity.
Yeah.
Not just this. There are
There are so many,
so
yes,
many, yes, so many things
absolutely.
to incorporate
Yeah.
into your daily routine. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing that there. And the next question that I have for you is, in your opinion, how can yoga help parents sort of better connect with their children in an emotional level?
Um, See, so generally children learn by watching, not by
Yeah.
what we keep telling them to do. And children look at their parents as role models.
Mhm.
So keeping that in mind, as I mentioned earlier, I was practicing yoga with my daughter, and I came up with that's when I came up with the parent and child, that is mom or the father, whoever it could be. So the parent and child workshop,
Mhm.
where they do different asanas together, which helps in teamwork and achieving the particular asana together as a team. So, for example, if the tree pose, right? So, the parent and the child will have to hold each other's hand and they have to find a solution to achieve that asana without falling. They have to find a balance.
Yes.
So that helps in better teamwork between the parent and the child, and that way they bond in a very fun environment.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I feel. And also in today's world, the parents have a very hectic schedule. Both parents work,
Mhm.
right? So I feel this mom and child workshop was a huge success for me. Like during the class, I've seen so many happy faces, giggling all over, all the time,
Yeah.
and it gave me a lot of joy when I was conducting the mom and child workshop.
That's so nice to hear. Thank you for sharing a bit about your experience, especially with the mom and child sort of interaction in the yoga classes there. The next question that I would like to come into is, how do you manage to balance your personal life with your fitness as well as your wellness routine?
Um, it is a bit of a challenge having a 9-year-old child. The demand and expectation is a lot, but I somehow find a way to balance. I would say I live in a joint family and I have all the family support, and that's how I'm able to find a balance between my work life and my personal life, and also my husband and my daughter, my biggest support system. And somehow I find time to take care, I mean spend that quality time with my daughter, where I take her for classes, help her with her assignment. And yeah, but end of the day, I feel that without family support, I don't think I will be able to do what I really, like.
Yeah, do what you really love, right? So I think that's really amazing that you had mentioned your family as well as their support. Um,
Yes,
so
yes.
so thank you for sharing that there. And now I have some rapid fire questions for you. And the first question that I would like to get into is, what is one thing you wish more people knew about yoga?
The one thing that I would say is there is no age limit in practicing yoga. Especially, I feel the older people, they think yoga means it's associated with only complicated asanas, like very advanced poses. But I want people to know that even with simple, very, very simple asanas, you can get the all the benefit out of the advanced poses also.
Yeah.
So that's something I want people to know, that there is no age limit to practicing yoga.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that there. And I think you've really kind of touched upon a very important sort of misconception, especially with yoga. So thank you for sharing that there. The next question I have for you is, how do you unwind after a busy day?
I read a book with my daughter, like before bedtime, and then my husband, my daughter, and we sit and talk about our day, and that's the way I look forward to spending time with them, and I feel that's the best part of my day, where it just makes my day complete with them, and I feel that's how I unwind myself.
That's lovely. Thank you for sharing that there. Now, the final question that I have for you is, what's the most rewarding part of being a yoga teacher?
So earlier, I used to have anger issues. I used to be a bit short-tempered. I
Okay.
feel yoga practice has definitely helped me to get over that issue. And when I'm in a very troubled situation, I feel I approach it in a much more calmer way. And I also have learned to let go of bad and negative things in life,
Mhm.
which definitely yoga is what taught me. And also, what I teach my students is what I practice, and that has made me more disciplined as a person. So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that there and a bit about your journey as well as your experiences with yoga. And so that is the end of our episode. So thank you so much, Bina, for joining me on the 71st episode. It has been a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope we're able to do this again. I'd also like to thank everyone else who's yet to listen to our 71st episode of Inside the Minds of Great Yogis. And until next time, I hope everyone has a great day. And thank you so much for joining me, Bina.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me.